So let me know.
Good afternoon. I am Yolanda Brown, Chief Academic Officer here in Atlanta Public Schools. We are really excited to have everyone watching today and who is joining us for our Division of Academics, Family and Community Cluster Trainings for the spring of 2022. We are really excited that this is part 2 of what we started in the fall, where we brought to you our APS 5. We talked about our universal screeners, both academic and behavioral health. And so we also talked about some other great things related to our technology. And so here we are back again, and we wanted to begin to engage you again around part 2 of our APS 5 and dig deep a little bit into our academic universal screener, which is our NWEA map, and talk a little bit more about our behavioral and mental health screener, as well as some other great topics. So with that, I will begin by turning it over to my wonderful Division of Academics team. We have a robust program for you here this afternoon. And so I'll start with our introductions, and I'll turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Selena Florence.
So good evening and welcome, parents. We are delighted to be with you again this evening for our family and cluster meetings. So here is our agenda for this evening. We will do welcome and introductions. We will review our APS 5. We will also discuss our APS Academic Recovery Plan. We will spend some time on our APS Summer Academic Recovery Academy, or ARA, 2022 and other offerings. We will talk about our K-12 universal screeners and give you an update on MAP and the BAST-3 BESS. We will also talk about the APS Parent Insights website and give you a brief overview of that. And then of course, we will have time for questions and answers. I will allow the rest of the team to introduce themselves this evening. Dr. Lovett.
All right, good evening. I am Katika Lovett, Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Student Services.
Ms. Parker.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cheryl Parker, your Interim Director of After School and Summer Programs.
Dr. O'Brien.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am your Director of Research and Evaluation.
Thank you to the team that is presenting for this evening. Next slide. So as you know, our strategic plan serves as the anchor for all of our work here in APS. The strategic plan includes 4 goals, 1 for math, 1 for numeracy, 1 for profile of a graduate, and 1 for college and career readiness. The strategic plan also includes our equity commitments and all of the goals that guide our work throughout the course of the school year. Next slide. The plan also includes our strategic priorities, which you see on the slide: fostering academic excellence for all, building a culture of student support, equipping and empowering leaders and staff, and creating a system of support for schools. All of this is guided by our focus on equity, excellence, and engagement. So we wanted to give you a little bit more information about the APS 5. So we will watch a short video that gives you an introduction to what the 5 are and how we use them in APS.
What is the APS 5? The APS 5 is our term for a specific group of methods we're using to improve results for all students.
So, how did
answer. By the way, equity is the quality of being just and fair.
Parents and community, please bear with us as we are working through our technical issues. So just pause 1 second and we'll get the APS 5 video restarted for you momentarily. Thank you.
What is the APS 5? The APS 5 is our term for a specific group of methods we're using to improve results for all students.
So, how did we come up with these 5 things?
We asked ourselves, when it comes to education, what is getting in our way that we can do something about?
What is a roadblock to progress that we can define and eliminate?
Inequity was the answer.
By the way, equity is the quality of being just and fair regardless of economic, social, cultural, and human differences among and between persons.
If you hear us say equity, that's what we're talking about.
Knowing that we need to give inequity the boot, we asked ourselves some more questions.
What works really well to help students do their best? And how can we make sure we're using the stuff that works really well everywhere so we can get better faster?
The APS 5 is our list of answers to these important questions.
Atlanta, just like school systems all across the country, has pockets of greatness and examples of excellence everywhere. And now we are focusing on 5 measurable methods we already know work great.
When everyone in every school has the same understanding of what to do and how to do it, and has the tools and support to get to work doing what they do best,
we know that's a winning formula.
This will help us do away with uneven results across schools and across groups.
It will help our teachers love what they do even more.
It will help our students love learning even more.
And it will help me
and me
and me graduate on time, ready and set for college, career, and life.
Thank you, parents, for bearing with us with that slight technical difficulty, but we do hope you were able to enjoy the video about the APS 5. So a little bit more about the 5. The APS 5 are the 5 evidence-based practices that we will prioritize and implement in all APS schools to increase student outcomes and fulfill our equity commitments. The 5 include data. We will utilize data to drive all instructional decisions and ensure equitable outcomes for all students. Curriculum and instruction. We will implement rigorous and culturally relevant and linguistically responsive curriculum with fidelity in all core content areas and instructional best practices in Tier 1 instruction. The third one is whole child and intervention. We will implement a whole child system of supports that integrates social emotional learning, behavior, wellness, and comprehensive academic intervention plans. The fourth is personalized learning. We will use flexible learning tools, technology integration, and targeted instruction to personalize learning for all of our students. And then finally, signature programming. We will strengthen the implementation of signature programming across all schools in APS. Now just a little bit about our academic recovery plan. So this school year, APS rolled out our academic recovery plan for all students in all schools in APS. There are 3 components to the plan. We have our school-based intervention class block or course, which we talked a lot about in our fall parent and family cluster meetings. The second component is our Summer Academic Recovery Academy, which we began last summer and will continue this summer. You'll learn more about that tonight. And then finally, we have our comprehensive assessment system, which is ongoing, and you'll hear more about both components, the universal screeners for MAP and for the BESS 3 this evening as well. I will now turn it over to Ms. Cheryl Parker for our summer APS programming.
Thank you, Dr. Florence. Good evening again. I am Cheryl Parker, your interim director of after school programs, and I'm here to talk to you after school and summer programs. And I'm here to share with you information about our 2022 summer APS offerings. As previously stated, again this year, APS will offer Academic Recovery Academy to all students of Atlanta Public Schools. The dates are June 1st through the 30th for elementary, middle, as well as high school. Our elementary and middle school students will attend ARA for a full school day. Our academic focus is literacy and mathematics, as well as Power Up program, which will occur in the afternoon. All students are welcome to register. However, we have identified students who need, and we encourage them to attend based on their MAP winter assessment. Accommodations and teacher support for students with disabilities and English learners will be provided. Once again, we will integrate social emotional learning in our full day schedule. Students will attend summer ARA based on their current enrollment. So if a student is enrolled in person currently, then he or she will be invited to attend in person. If a student is enrolled in virtual or a current AVA student, he or she will attend virtually. Transportation will be provided for all full-day students in both elementary as well as middle school. Our high school students will also attend June 1st through the 30th. However, they will attend a half-day schedule. They are permitted to receive up to 2 courses of credit recovery. If he or she is enrolled in an end of course test course, that course test will be June 21st through the 24th. Once again, our academic focus for high school are credit recovery and graduation. Students who are on target to graduate this summer will attend Wings at Phoenix Academy. High school will have a blended model of instruction. That means that they will receive direct instruction from a teacher, as well as Edgenuity offered at these high school sites. AVA is the only virtual option for students. Students again will be assigned a content teacher, and if working during the school day, students will have access to a virtual classroom with a content teacher for questions. Once again, we will integrate social emotional learning in the school schedule. Accommodations and teacher support for students with disabilities and English learners will be provided. And APS will provide transportation for high school students as well. Registration has started. All APS traditional school students are welcome again to attend summer APA, and we launched that registration on February 21st. Registration will close on Sunday, April 10th, 2022. Our high school students will register through their high school counselor, and that too has started. Next slide. All students, middle, elementary, or high school students will be provided nutrition, a breakfast, as well as lunch. Once again, transportation will be provided for all full-day elementary and middle school students who are registered for ARA, as well as our high school students who are registered to receive credit recovery. Families who would like for their students to only participate in the Power Up afternoon program must provide transportation to and from those program sites. Our elementary and middle school students recommended for participation in ARA were identified using MAP RIT scores for kindergarten and first grade, as well as achievement level for 2nd through 8th. As you can see, we have a total of 7,412 students recommended for elementary, and middle school has 3,811 students based on the aforementioned criteria. Next slide. Our student enrollment projection for high school was based upon those students who need to recover 9th grade Lit, Algebra 1, American Government, and Biology. These courses are not the only courses that will be offered for recovery. However, we wanted to share this information because it's very important that students earn credits for these or recover these credits. Again, these courses are typically first-year courses in high school, and we want to ensure that all of our students receive the credits for those courses. Next. Here you'll see our elementary school, middle school, and high school sites for summer ARA. Our schools and sites were selected based on several criteria: whether or not that school was an ARA site last year, the capacity of the building, as well as the number of students identified to attend summer ARA. Next slide. Our elementary school schedule. Our elementary school staff will arrive at 7:15 in the morning. Our students are expected to be in school by 7:45 to receive breakfast, followed by social emotional learning, literacy, lunch and recess, then mathematics, followed by power-up programming in the afternoon at 12:55. We will end our day with mindfulness and dismiss at 2:45. Our middle school schedule. Our staff will report at 8:45 a.m. and students are expected to report by 9:15 to receive a healthy breakfast, followed by social emotional learning, literacy or mathematics, lunch and a brain break, literacy or mathematics, and then at 2:25, power up programming. We will end our day with mindfulness and dismiss at 4:15 for students. Our high school schedule. Our employees will arrive at 8:15, and our students are expected to be on campus by 8:45 for breakfast, followed by social emotional learning, course 1 at 9:30, then lunch at 10:50, course 2, and then we'll end our day with mindfulness and dismissal. Students will depart by 1 p.m. APS will offer additional program offerings for summer 2022. Many of these programs are familiar to our families. Science and Math Summer Enrichment, also known as Academy, is also known as SIMC, Level Up Math. We are returning this year Fine Arts Camp, Xanadu, APIB College Success Boot Camp, Wings at Phoenix, Extended School Year, Kinder Camp, Summer Transition Program for Pre-K and Kindergarten, as well as Summer Bridge for 6th and 9th grade. This year, we will also offer Power Up DLI Espanol at selected sites as their Power Up programming. For more information, please do not hesitate. Please hurry and go to our Summer APS website. Next slide. Are there any questions regarding summer APS? Thank you.
All right. All right, so now we will have a little more time to spend on our Universal Screener for Academics, NWEA MAP. So just a few reminders about the MAP growth assessment. Remember that we covered the MAP growth assessment in our last family cluster meetings. So MAP growth assessments are a part of the APS Academic Recovery Plan. The assessments are also aligned to our district's strategic plan. Students take the MAP Reading Fluency Assessment in grades pre-K through 2, the MAP Growth Math Assessment in grades K through 12, the MAP Growth Reading Assessment also in grades K through 12. The MAP assessment serves as the first time in APS that all K through 12 students have taken the same universal screener. So as a reminder about our testing windows, so we took the first assessment of MAP back in the fall, August 23rd through September 13th. At that time, we tested 92.5% of all APS students for MAP Reading Fluency, MAP Growth Reading, and MAP Growth Math. We just entered the winter testing window in January. That window opened on November 29th and closed on January 14th. During that testing window, we tested 95% of APS students for MAP Reading Fluency, MAP Growth Reading, and MAP Growth Math. Our next testing window for our final MAP assessment this year will open next week on March 7th and close on March 28th. Now that your child has taken 2 MAP assessments, we thought we would revisit the family report to make sure that you understand exactly how to read it. But first, let's listen to Lila's story about how she uses MAP growth data to set goals.
Hi, I'm in 3rd grade. My name is Lila. A few days ago, it was parent-teacher conferences. My mom and dad both went with me. They used to be teachers, and my dad knows all about the MAP test. They had lots of questions. They really like to ask questions. But I surprised them. Before they asked my teacher, I took them to my desk to see my MAP goal sheet. And I explained how MAP shows me what I'm good at, what I need to get better at, and how I use that to set my goals for the next time. I told him how much I like seeing my scores. He asked me why. I think he was a little bit surprised. So I asked him, Dad, remember how every year on my birthday you made a mark on the door to show how much I grew? That's how math works. Each time I take the test, it's like I get to make another mark on the wall. Then I set goals, then I keep growing. It was really fun to take my parents to each class and show them how much I had grown and learned. That makes me really happy. They both looked happy too.
So now that you've heard a little bit about Lila's story, let's talk about your child's NWEA MAP scores. So before we begin looking at the family report, there are 3 important words that we want you to remember as you listen. The first word is RIT score. The RIT score is a measurement scale developed to simplify how we understand MAP test scores. So the MAP uses data from more than 10 million students across the country to compare where your child is to other students and to help them grow. The second word we want you to remember is achievement percentile. This tells us how well a student performed in comparison to similar students. In other words, achievement tells us how well a student has learned skills in a subject compared to similar students nationwide. The final word is growth percentile. The growth percentile tells us how much a student grew in comparison to similar students. Growth is a measure of a student's progress over the course of the year. Remember, we looked at this slide last time. It shows a MAP family report. This report provides a summary of key results from a given test term, a summary of all subjects tested for a student, organized by term, and provides the student's relative strengths and weaknesses. So this report tells you how well your child has performed from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year, where we are now, and what they've done well in, and what they still have a little room to grow in. So the family report makes it easy to see not only how your child is achieving, but also how they are growing. This is an example from the family report for a student named Christopher. So if you have your child's family report, you will see on the left-hand side a section for average achievement. For this student, we are looking at the math section. Look first at Christopher's achievement percentile. You can see that Christopher had a RIT score of 178 in the fall of 2018. His RIT score increased by 8 points to 186 in the winter of 2018. And by the fall of 2019, Christopher's RIT score has reached 201. In the fall of 2019, Christopher is in the 47th percentile, which means he scored better than 47% of his peers. So I stated earlier that the family report makes it easy for you to see not only how your child is achieving, but also how they are growing. Now let's look at Christopher's growth percentile. The growth side of the report shows you that Christopher is at the 96th percentile in math. This means that he made more progress than 96% of his peers. The family report also includes projections that let you know how well your child will perform on future assessments, like on milestones test, ACT, and SAT exams. While Christopher has shown a lot of growth this year, right now, he is on track to be basic on the state test. For your child, you might see that he or she is likely to score in the beginning, developing, proficient, or distinguished levels on our milestones assessment. You should see these same 2 components for every assessment that your child took, both reading and math. You should see achievement for growth and achievement for average achievement. So how can you use your child's winter 2022 MAP scores? You can use this report to help you set goals with your child. You can talk with them about what you notice about their MAP scores, or what do they notice? Why do you think they scored higher or lower this time as compared to last time? Does this graph match what you know about your ability in specific learning areas? You also might talk to them about their goals for the spring MAP assessment we are taking starting next week. What will it take to reach your goals? And how can you help as a parent to help them reach their goals? You will also see a section of the family report that has questions that you can ask to help your child. So you could take these questions to your child's parent, principal, or to your child's teacher and ask these specific questions about the report, how your child scored, and what you might be able to do at home to support your child on their next MAP assessment. So how are we as a district using 2022 winter MAP scores? We are using MAP scores to inform instruction in our classrooms, to personalize learning for our students, to monitor the growth of individual students, to plan for specific interventions, and to see the performance and progress of a grade level school and the entire district from beginning to middle to the end of the year. As a reminder, our spring MAP testing dates begin next week, March 7th, and they will occur through Monday, March 28th. Your child's school should let you know the specific date that your child will take the MAP test. Make sure that your child gets a good night's rest before the assessment. Make sure that your child is at school on time and ready to test, and talk to your child about their MAP goals and doing their best on this test. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Dr. Lovett for our Universal Screener for Behavior.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Selena. So here we go, talking about our Universal Social, Emotional, and Behavior Screener, which is known as the BASS-3 BESS. So we're going to talk about the updates since our last time together. In the previous meeting, we had Dr. Shannon Hervey, who is still on the call for questions, but Dr. Hervey shared the overview of the BASS, and we're going to just talk about a few updates at this time. Next slide, please. So here we have the executive summary from the BASS-3 BESS Fall Administration. So I want to point out a few things that we have found throughout that administration. The first piece, the district staff partnered with West Ed to comprise an early warning system and response protocol guidance. And I'll talk more about that in just a moment. 21 staff from student support and intervention, special education, and social emotional learning were also trained as Review 360 trainers. Principals, school counselors, and social workers also participated in an in-service on the BESS and the early warning system and response protocol. We also had 225 school screener ambassadors from all schools and school programs who were trained on the tool that helps us analyze the data, and that tool is Review 360. 2,092 teachers provided screener information on over 28,000 students in grades K through 12, and 21,198 students in grades 3 through 12, or 76%, completed the student self-report assessment. Finally, as parents, it's important for me to point out this last point. Parents completed the parent form for 3,053 students. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the response protocol, and again, that's a very important piece of how we respond to the needs of students. Here is the protocol that we put in place in response to the BASS-3 BESS. On day 1, we administer the assessment. On day 2, the school screener ambassador reviews the reports to identify students who are noted as elevated risk or extremely elevated. And those names are provided to our school support staff. Those staff persons do screening, brief interviews, and they refer for next steps if applicable. In days 2 and 3, a school-based student support staff member utilizes the student chat form and the student report to meet directly with students and further confirm the risk and assess the need for support. Following that, we make contact with parents. It's important to note that prior to that contact with parents, to go deeper into the report, we want to confirm the information that we have found from our students. So we do that as a critical step prior to the contact with parent and guardians. We also then do a virtual meeting or an in-person meeting to discuss the risks that are identified, and we work together with you parents to formulate recommendations for the most appropriate actions to support the students. Here you see on day 7, if the need for support or safety interventions is confirmed, we can also refer students to our care team. Now, that care team is an important group of individuals who come together to work out situations where we need to provide additional support. Care team members include people like social workers and counselors, teachers, even school administrators are a part of the CARE team. They come together for continued discussion and integrated student support case management. Finally, wrapping up the response protocol, on day 15, school teams review student level data and finalize decisions about the provision of specific supports. They also look at school, grade, gender, race, and classroom level data to look for trends so that we can also enhance or expand existing supports for students and or teachers, and particularly those students by subgroup. Finally, the school-based staff continue the ongoing assessment, support, and monitoring of progress. The important piece here in the response protocol is that it really continues. Even after these days we've outlined, we continue providing the supports to students. We continue to monitor the progress of our students, particularly those students who are elevated risk and extremely elevated risk. Next slide, please. So, how can parents support this effort? The first piece is two-way communication. We encourage you to be open and remain open to communicating with your student school about any concerns that you have or any questions you have regarding teacher concerns. The next piece is teamwork, working in conjunction with the student school to provide insight and your recommendation for how your child can best be supported in school. We often like to say that parents are the experts on children, so it's critical that we work together in these efforts. The next piece is a starting point. We want you to use the screener outcome as a starting point to engage in a conversation with your child. And finally, partnership. Provide any updates to your student school on how your child is responding to any recommended strategies and interventions. Next slide. Here we have the BASS-3 BESS Spring Administration Timeline. Now, it's important to note that we've passed some of these dates, but I'll share them here with you. Starting at the beginning of February, we sent out notification forms to parents. So you should have received a notification form regarding the upcoming screener for the spring administration. On the 15th of February, we opened that window. And we're in the process right now of continuing the screening. So you'll see here 3/1 was noted as the date for when the window will close, but we will have a couple of days after that time for any remaining schools or any parents who would like to get in the parent form. Here you'll see after that piece, we start the school-based student support staff with confirming risk, conversing with parents, looking at those students again who have the elevated levels of risk, and discussing screener outcome reports. And finally, 3/14 to 3/25, we are sending out the reports and the report explanation letters from schools to parents. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have made it to the questions and answers. I just want to leave you with one piece of information. Again, I mentioned that we are currently in that administration window. So we are encouraging all parents, if you have not had the opportunity to complete the BASS-3 BESS for your child, the parent screening information, you are still encouraged to do so. The window is open. And again, we greatly need your teamwork and collaboration in addressing the needs of our students. Thank you. I'll pause at this time for any questions that you may have. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Are you interested in learning more about Atlanta Public Schools data? APS Insights is the data website for Atlanta Public Schools. Next slide. You may access APS Insights by going to www.apsinsights.org. On our data website, you will find publicly available data in two different types of formats. The first format is a blog. Periodically throughout the school year, we do post blogs with interactive visualizations based on official state data. The timing of the release of the blogs are based on when the Georgia Department of Education releases various data files to the public. In addition to blog posts, you can also find out more information about your school through looking at school profiles, and school comparisons. And we also have an enrollment map available for our viewers. On the school profile, when you're at the landing, to be able to access information about your school, you can select a grade and a school from the dropdown. On this site, you will have access to a wide variety of data about your school. In particular, one piece of data that you can find is the College and Career Ready Performance Index, also known as CCRPI. This is our state's school rating system that is used to compare schools across the state. Part of these indexes include milestone data, growth, school climate, and attendance data. Please note that all of this information related to CCRPI is as of the 2019 school year. In response to the pandemic, the Georgia Department of Education paused our CCRPI indicator reporting, but we do expect to have various components of this data available for you for the 2022 school year later this fall. In addition to the CCRPI index information, you can also find current enrollment and race and ethnicity information for your school. All of our enrollment and race/ethnicity data is based on an October 5th, 2021 snapshot date. And this is the date that all schools in the state of Georgia report enrollment counts to the Georgia Department of Education. Next slide. So again, if you're interested in learning more about your school, I would highly recommend going to APS Insights. Again, that's www.apsinsights.org. To access your school, you would click the school profiles in the blue rectangle. From there, you can select your grade level and your school from the drop-down menus. And then feel free to learn something new about your school. Next slide. In addition to our school comparison, as I stated earlier, we do have blogs that come out periodically throughout the school year. To access the blog from the main page in the upper right-hand corner, you would just select the word that says blog. Next slide. From here, you can see a variety of information about APS data. For example, we have enrollment data that covers enrollment trends for Atlanta Public Schools for the past 27 years. We also have our latest cohort 2021 graduation rates data. To subscribe to receive notifications for new blogs, I would highly recommend on that right side of the page to click the subscribe button. You will be notified as new emails or new blogs, I should say, come available. And one of our newest blogs that I'm happy to say that we will be able to release later in the spring will be our map data. And so with that, if you're interested in getting an email notification when that information is available, this would be a great spot to be able to enter your email address to receive that information. Next slide. Thank you. Are there any questions?
All right. Well, thank you, parents. We hope you have learned some new information this evening. As always, we are the Division of Academics. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your child's school first. Your principal or your child's teacher may be able to help you. This video will be posted on our YouTube page, so you can go back and reference it at any time. Thank you for attending and have a great evening.